Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Mega Miles here, or you might recognize me from this season's MasterChef. So today I wanted to go over the business strategy game. I've done several videos in the past about this business simulation, and they're all still relevant, but I wanted to do an updated video just so you guys don't, wonder about it, because yeah, the BSG hasn't changed for several years. The very first video I made was like shortly after I did it myself, and that was like the old version. So I wanted to reassure you guys, all those other videos, I'll link them in the description, are still applicable. But I'm gonna reiterate, go through this just in case you're stressed. Don't worry, I'll hold your hand through this. Well, you'll be fine, don't worry. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. It means so much. Thanks. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna pretty much show you like the overview of how to use this. So obviously you're a shoe company competing against other shoe companies, likely your students or your fellow classmates, I mean. So we're gonna go through the decision entries panels, and keep in mind that I know I've been idle too long. I've been talking, okay? Leave me alone. So pretty much what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna discuss a lot in terms of strategy, and the reason why is there's so many different factors, okay? So like how many teams you're competing against, how difficult the actual economy is, what your current situation is, how many rounds you're gonna do. There's a lot of stuff. So like putting in like just numbers or like saying, hey, this strategy will work for you means it won't work for other people. And like, it's really conditional. So I hope you guys understand that. And by the way, if you need help, shoot me an email. I'll get back to you. Just put some context in it. Don't send me an email and be like, I need help. Be like, what's going on? But yeah, just give me some context. I'll get back to you. So let's get started. Oh yeah, leave a like in this video too. Thank you, I love you. So the first section is compensation and training. So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much obviously talking about your workforce's compensation and training. So the base wage is the base wage. Incentive pay is like, hey, if you do well, you'll get a little bonus. Fringe benefits, I think that's like vacation. I don't know. When your workers are on the fringe, you pay them certain dollars so they like chill out or something. I don't know. It's important though. I'll explain everything. Best practices, it's like, hey, learn, hone your craft. So this entire section is pretty much to like make your workforce efficient. So the key here is to not underspend and to not overspend. If you want to play it safe, you can just look at the industry average up here and just kind of like base it off of that. But generally, best practices are pretty important because it helps your workforce produce better over time. It's like they learn how to do stuff better as the simulation goes on. So supervisory staff, this is like the ratio production workers to supervisors. So 40-1, you can adjust this obviously however you want, which if you think about it, you've got more management, more eyes on what's going on. So it'll help with efficiency, but it won't necessarily result in like a lower overall cost. Does that make sense? Like, so like if you're like such a perfectionist, you're gonna be spending a lot of money, so like you've got to balance that. So wage increase similar to the base wage up here. So yeah, this just like boosts their wage if you want to. So yeah, it's like that's not necessary. You can, just depends on your approach. So branded production, sorry. So this page is pretty important. This, you've got North America, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. When you first start, you're gonna have North America and Asia, so which is fine. And then this is what comprises your products. So you're gonna go through here and say, okay, I wanna produce, 5 star quality product. So you adjust these variables. The models aren't necessarily like directly tied into the SQ rating. They have an impact on it, but this is like excluded from when you're trying to like adjust this. So sorry if I'm going quick. So superior materials are gonna boost your SQ rating. Obviously it's gonna cost more. Enhanced styling, same thing. Okay, so like we could just label these A and B. It doesn't matter what they're called. These two factors, whatever you do, raising them or lowering them, impact this. So TQM 6 Sigma, what that does is it's like another like best practices type thing. So it's a quality program. 6 Sigma like exists in real life. Pretty much like it's a simulation. So like all this is applicable to real life. Except it's not a simulation. So yeah, this is like a program that people have their employees, like it's like a certification. So pretty much it's like it makes your operation more efficient. So it's important, but you've got to balance pretty much everything in this game. You've got to balance. So you can't just be like, oh, hey, I'm just going to spend out the wazoo and yeah, you'll get in trouble pretty quickly. So models, same thing. You got to be progressive with it generally. It depends on your approach too. So like if you're wanting to go like super high quality, you might not be able to do 500 models and still make a good profit margin. So you've got to be aware. You've got to like pay attention to stuff. And down here, branded pairs to be manufactured. So this is where you input how many pairs you want to be manufactured. So like from 900, right above it, that line is total production capacity. So it'll be like, okay, we want to max out that production. So there you go. And then you go into the next screen, production facilities, which is where you can also purchase additional equipment. So let's say we purchase 250. So back here, this 900, now we can do 1200 instead of the 900 max that it was at before. So that's how that works. And you've got new and refurbished. Generally what I do, I just balance the two. There's not like, if you're doing all the other parts right, this isn't gonna matter too much, okay? So this is like, if you have to worry about this stuff, yeah. So production improvements, they're important to an extent, but they're not required. So like what I've seen most is like people get themselves in more trouble using these because they don't understand how they work. They're like, oh, production improvement, yes. And then they're like, oh shit, because you can't reverse these. So be careful with them. Make sure you know what you're doing. What you can do is look at capital outlays versus annual cost saving. But just realize that's dynamic. That can change too. So like, it depends. So just be careful. That's the best advice I can give you in this section. Space for production equipment. When you want to expand, you purchase additional space there. So branded distribution, important screen. It looks straightforward, but it's not. So this is where you allocate all your production. You see your North American supply, Asia supply, Latin America supply, and then you distribute however you want. It's like a little chart, you know what I mean? So like if we want 500 to go to North America, just throwing out a number, we do that. And then down here it'll say, okay, we're shipping too many pair. So like here, we've got additional pair to ship. So we go 1085. And this is what you want. 0, you're good, okay? Provided that you're meeting the demand. You can't just enter random numbers here and expect to sell everything. So this is LY inventory. So you just want to monitor this. You can use this depending on what your inventory surplus is. Sorry, I'm playing some music. It's super loud. I can't even hear my voice. So yeah, you just got to pay attention to your inventory surplus or shortfall. It's hard to highlight this row down here. Hopefully you can see that. And then you can sell off LY inventory if necessary, but you need to pay attention to if it's a loss or not. Sometimes selling at a loss is okay. You just gotta pay. You keep an eye on like your projections down here too, because there's so many moving parts. I'm trying to like everything's connected, so like you gotta pay attention to like the overall picture, which is your projections down here, which can be inaccurate, which kind of comes into this next page, internet marketing with competitive assumptions. Okay, so like in the old BSG, they used to have this huge section of like the projections, and it was just like so kind of irrelevant. But they're okay, so like the numbers are kind of like populated themselves, so don't worry about it too much, but they are important because adjusting these does change your projections in every aspect. So if you want to adjust them, if you think you know what the competition's gonna do, go for it, but just be careful, okay? So internet marketing, you've got your retail price, search engine advertising, and free shipping. So these margins are terrible, right? So like, depending on like how efficiently you're operating, free shipping is a bad idea. You see that? It drops our profit margin down so much. So the key is to do it when it makes more sense. So like you'll know. Just keep an eye on these. You'll see like at a certain point, if you're doing the BSG well, it'll only drop like 1% or 2%, if that, and your margins will be a lot higher. But it also helps with your image rating because your customers like that. So yeah, one important thing on the internet marketing, or the price anyway, is your retail price has to exceed the wholesale price by 40%. So what that means is when you're selling to retailers, your internet marketing price has to be 40% above that. Otherwise, the retailers get pissed off. They're like, why am I selling this dude shoe when he's selling it cheaper than me? You know what I mean? So like, I guess it's just like kind of like etiquette, business etiquette. So yeah, you should maintain that. So wholesale marketing, big section, more competitive assumptions. Most of them are generally automatically populated. Once again, don't worry too much about it unless you're like in a lot of trouble, I guess. By then, email me, hopefully earlier, sooner than later. So wholesale decisions are price, advertising, mail-in rebate, delivery time, and retailer support. So price is self-explanatory. Advertising, very important. You need to, it has diminishing returns. So just like pay attention to like the juice that you're getting for the squeeze, you know? Mail-in rebate is important. It's got a wide spectrum of adjustments. Just, I wouldn't put it to 0 or something. Don't like, yeah. Delivery time is important, but you have to do it right. So like, don't go to 1 week on the first decision. You want your operation established and efficient before you start pressing production. Retailer support. So this goes into like, I assume like the displays, you know, like what your setup looks like in the store, which drives more retailer outlets over time to you. So more people are going to sell your product, which means more demand in the end. So you can progressively increase this, just don't go too crazy. The next section is private label. Now this section is super important, but you have to implement it correctly. Otherwise it can do you more harm than good. So what private label is essentially we're selling our shoes to these other companies that are then going to put their own label on it. So we're producing, generally speaking, lower quality products, and we're putting out a bid for it to be accepted or rejected. And we're also competing against these other companies, our competitors, like your classmates, to win those bids. So yeah, it can boost your revenues, or like if your bid doesn't get accepted, that's, you know, like potential wasted. So what you do, it's materials, enhanced styling. You've got your SQ. See how it's red here? It's because the global minimum is 4.2. So we've got to increase that slightly. And look, we've got a 4.2. Woohoo. So then North America, you've got your markets here. So you distribute, depending on how you have the setup, you could, you know, save some production for each area or each plant respectively, depending on where you're at, or you could distribute from one plant. It depends. Generally start distribution from one plant just for efficiency. And then I would do like equal amounts, you know, so like not, we can't do like totally equal amounts, but so whatever. We'll just do 250. That works. Okay. So like, for example, right? So from there, we go down to private label contract offer, and we put in our offer. So the key here is to look at your comparative efforts. And down here, there's an offer price of 42. You kind of look at like what the other teams did. If everyone bid like $30, you're like, damn, okay, so that's super competitive. Maybe you don't even want to attempt putting in a bid, because there's certain times where like you'll have a team who like doesn't understand it, and they're like pricing everything at a loss, like they're losing money. But like you trying to compete against them, you're gonna lose money even more so, because if you beat their price, you're gonna take a bigger loss than they already were. So you've got to pay attention. So like you look at your margin over direct costs. So let's say like everyone's priced at $40. We could put in a bid at $35 and like we'd still be fine. You know what I mean? So don't get like too greedy. You just don't want to go over the max bid, because then it won't be accepted. So that's it for that. You can put in your, like, if you're confident that your bid is going to be accepted, you check yes. So what that does is it puts that into your projections. Okay. So the next page is celebrity endorsements. And I miss the days when they didn't cap the celebs at 3. Because like when I had the course, I monopolized the celebrity market. I had all the celebs. I went to their parties. We drank, and like, you know, I networked with all, like, seriously, Samuel Jackson is freaking so cool. You guys wouldn't even know. I mean, Judy Judge, she's crazy. She parties like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, but now I can only get 3 at once. Okay. So like it kind of sucks. So you can only win 3 celebrities at one time. But they're still important. So what you do, you put in your contract offer, and just really pay attention to what other teams are doing, because you don't want to, if you increase the bid way too much, everyone's going to start bidding higher, and then the celebs kind of become obsolete. You've kind of ruined their effect because you're spending too much. So bid on your celebs. As far as the spending cap goes, I generally don't put one because we can only win 3. And I generally always want to win 3 if I can, without like going crazy on the bid. All right, guys, the next page is corporate citizenship. It's important because it helps with your image rating. The key here is to do everything progressively. You don't want to just sit there and like max everything out or implement everything all at once. So just take your time over the years, increase, you know, energy initiatives or charitable contributions. Like, you don't have to do this, but it's important to boost your image rating. So most likely you should do it. So yeah, the last screen is finance and cash flow. This screen is also, all this stuff is important. Okay. I keep saying this screen's important. This screen's important. So, pretty much what this is like kind of like where you're standing financially at the end of a decision. So there's a few things that we can tinker with here. One of the important ones is stock repurchases, but you have to do it correctly. And to do it, you look at like the maximum share repurchase and you put in, let's say 500. Okay. So what that does is we're buying back stock, and you want to do this if you believe that your company is going to perform well. The reason why is it'll help boost all the stock related factors. Stock price, ROE, and EPS, because there's less outstanding shares. So it's like a good way to leverage. Like in the real world, certain investors will view that as a negative thing because it's like you're artificially boosting your numbers. But for the sake of the BSG, it's good. So don't worry about it. Provided that you perform well. So let's say like you repurchase all your stock and then your market, it's just like investing. If you bought like shares in a company and they perform terribly, there goes those earnings. So yeah, same logic there. So like if you feel like you're doing good, which hopefully you are, repurchase some stock. So then let's say, like how we have this negative cash balance, you take out a loan. I'm gonna do 50 because we want that buffer zone. So let's say like if we did like 30, it'll say if projections aren't met accurately, it might end up with like an overdraft loan. So you don't want to do that. You want enough buffer because the overdraft loans are at a higher percentage than these loans. Okay. So generally 5 and 10 years, you don't really need to mess with the 1 year. It's up to you. And the last section here is early loan repayments. So you can pay off loans early if you've got an excess of cash flow. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Like that's not necessary to win the BSG. So yeah, it's more about if you leverage debt correctly. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, guys. So I hope that helped you out a lot. Be sure to watch the other videos. There's like one where I go through my thought process of an actual decision. I've linked them all in the description. If you're still struggling, be sure to send me an email. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. But be sure to let me know some context about your situation. And I'll appreciate that. That way I'm not like, oh, okay, tell me the problem. So yeah, I hope this helps. Once again, leave that like, share, subscribe, do all that jazz. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one.